She's back. And look at that clearance. Oh, wait. Welcome back, Scampers. My trailer's finally home from the shop with her new axle, and if you look real close, you'll see some other changes as well. So let's talk about it, because I know you guys got lots of questions. In my last video, I talked about how I discovered I had a bent axle on my Scamp 13 trailer, and it was in need of replacement. I mentioned how I found a new axle that was rated for 3,500 pounds instead of the 2,000 pound rating that my trailer originally came with. And I also mentioned that I had to wait 4 weeks for it to get here. From this angle, you can see that my trailer is sitting significantly higher. And that's not just because I swapped out the axle for a beefier option. I also upgraded to 14-inch tires and added a 2-inch lift. And if you've been following me for a while, then you know I like to take my trailer out to really remote, rugged campgrounds down rutted dirt roads, far away from hookups and RV parks. So this configuration is arguably one of the best configurations I could have come up with for the way I like to camp. When my trailer was still stock from the factory, it rode really close to the ground. And that's because these light-duty 2200 number 9 axles are built with a 22.5 degree up trailing arm angle to keep the trailer aerodynamic and easy to step into. Swapping it out for a more heavy-duty number 10 axle transforms my highway-oriented camper into a highly capable rough road trailer for several reasons. Number 1 is this massive ground clearance gain. Moving to a 0 degree horizontal angle on my axle arms, adding the 2-inch lift, and upgrading to these 14-inch tires has raised the frame and body of my trailer roughly 5 to 6 inches. This means that my frame, plumbing, bumper, and dump valves will all easily clear rough off-road terrain. Another benefit of these upgrades means no wheel well rubbing. Torsion axles can actually sag as they age, which would cause the upgraded tires to rub against the fiberglass wheel wells. The 2-inch lift combined with the 0 degree angle drops the spindle relative to the frame, so my larger 14-inch tires have plenty of space to flex on rough terrain without tearing up the fiberglass. One of my favorite benefits is the significantly upgraded stopping power. My stock axle only had 7-inch brakes, but the Dexter 10-inch assembly upgrades me to 10-inch brake drums. For a tiny trailer that only weighs 2,000 pounds, 10-inch brakes offer massive braking power, preventing the trailer from trying to push my tow vehicle down steep, loose dirt inclines. And the tires I've decided to go with are these Rainier ST 205/75 14ers. One of the key benefits to upgrading to this 14-inch tire is a higher load capacity. The 14-inch special trailer tires have a much higher weight rating than the stock 13s, providing more safety headroom for a loaded Scamp. Another huge benefit is a higher speed rating. The M on the tire's sidewall indicates a speed rating of 81 miles per hour, which is a big jump up from 65 like I had before. I can't imagine I would be towing my trailer at 81 miles per hour, but if I needed to get out of a sticky situation, it's great to know that I safely could do so. I also get improved durability. Steel-belted construction means these tires have a reinforced internal structure, which helps the tread stiffness, puncture resistance, and overall towing stability. Sounds pretty great, right? But those are the pros, and there are some cons, and I think it's important we discuss those as well. One of the really big concerns is something called the paint can shaker effect. Since this axle is rated for 3,500 pounds, and the Scamp trailer, even fully loaded, is an extremely lightweight trailer, there might not be enough weight to compress the rubber in the torsion axle. The axle relies on heavy weight to compress its internal rubber cords and provide the cushion that creates the suspension on these trailers. Because my trailer is so light, it's possible that the rubber cords will barely flex. This means off-road, the suspension could feel like a solid beam and transfer all those road vibrations directly into the fiberglass on the trailer. Such a harsh ride could easily pop rivets, crack the internal cabinetry, and send my gear flying all over the cabin. In addition, I might lose my independent suspension travel. A 0 degree starting angle means the trailing arm sits perfectly horizontal when unweighted. Under load, it flexes upward into a negative angle. This works fine on highways, but a 0 degree arm has less vertical downward travel space compared to the 22.5 degree down configuration that my trailer previously had. In layman's terms, that just means it'll slightly limit the maximum off-road flex. An additional con is now that I've lifted my trailer up so high, I've changed the center of gravity. Lifting a lightweight narrow track fiberglass trailer by 5+ inches significantly changes the aerodynamics and increases the rollover risk. On tilted off-road trails or during high-speed highway gusts, the trailer is more prone to tipping. This issue is one of the main reasons Scamp does not recommend lifting your trailers. Another big con is that this took extensive fabrication work. This was not a simple swap out. The Dexter number 10 required a wider mounting surface than the stock mounting brackets, so the Pro Shop had to remove the old brackets and weld custom steel spacer brackets to bridge the gap and safely weld the new axle to the frame. In other words, spendy. And something else I didn't consider before I put this project in motion is I now have a heavier spare on the back of the trailer, which could potentially cause sway. The combined weight of the larger steel rims and the heavier tire just puts a little more weight back there. So what can I do to help minimize some of these cons? Probably the most powerful tool in my arsenal with this new setup is to air down my tires when I'm off-roading. Since I'm now running heavy-duty tires, I can air down the PSI to about 20 or 25 when I'm slowly crawling down dirt roads, and the softer sidewalls will act as a secondary suspension that'll absorb a lot of those shocks before they ever even reach the axle. I just have to make sure that I air everything up back to the proper inflation before I reach paved roads. As I mentioned, the heavier spare with the heavier rim and tire on the back of the trailer can create something called a pendulum effect, which can transfer little cracks into the gel coat over time. So something I can do with that is remove it off the back of the trailer and either place it inside the trailer on the floor, inside my tow vehicle, or mount it underneath the tongue with an undermounting system. Additionally, I can pack very strategically. I can force the 3,500 pound rated axle to flex more if I focus the weight of all my gear directly over the axle and low inside the trailer. Packing all of my heavy gear directly over the suspension point will encourage compression, minimize sway, and decrease the chances of a rollover. Something else I can do is install a specialized off-roading shock absorbing hitch. A rubber isolated cushion ball mount is designed for off-roading, and it keeps the stiffness from the trailer's new axle from transferring into the frame of my tow vehicle when I'm crawling over rocks and going through ruts. That pretty much covers the changes that I've made and the pros and cons of those changes, but let's get to your questions because you all had quite a few. Question number 1, why do my new tires appear more forward in the wheel well than the stock tires? You all have impressively sharp eyes, and the technical answer is physical clearance management. Horizontal 0-degree trailing arm means that when the tire hits a bump, the arm moves slightly up and slightly backward into a negative upward angle. Because the tire moves backwards as it compresses, I had to ensure at least a 2 to 2.5 inch of horizontal clearance between the rear side of the new tires and the back wall of the wheel well. Question number 2. Does the new axle have the easy lube option? Yes, it does. Question number 3. Why did it take so long to get the new axle? It took so long because I had to order it custom made. The off-the-shelf Dexter number 10s are made to fit utility trailers, whereas Scamp trailer frames are completely custom with a proprietary width designed to cradle the fiberglass shells. So I had to get a custom-built axle and have that shipped to the trailer shop that did my repairs. Question number 4. Was the lift kit from the Scamp factory? Nope. It's literally just 1.5 inch metal tubing welded in place. The repair shop installed it when they installed the new axle. Question number 5. What shop did I pick to do my work and why? I found a shop that's about an hour away from me that specializes in rubber torsion axles. They had amazing reviews, they let me pick their brains for as long as I needed to, and they really knew their stuff. I simply went with my gut instinct on this one, and I felt like they were the best shop near me that could do the work well. Question number 6. What tires did you choose, and what's the load range? As I previously mentioned, I got the ST205/75R 14ers. These are load range C tires, which are 6-ply with a max capacity of 1,760 pounds per tire. So that means I have 3,520 pounds of total tire capacity across the axle. I specifically picked these because they help counteract my stiff axle. These tires act like a secondary suspension system, soaking up sharp road vibrations before they bounce into the fiberglass shell. Did they change the direction of the axle arms? Nope, both axles were installed with trailing arms. What did it cost? A lot. The axle itself was $910.95. The axle install, the removal of the bad axle, the tubing for the lift, the upgraded 14-inch rims for both tires and the spare, and the new tires to go on those rims for all three was $1,074.01. So all in, we're looking at $1,984.96 plus tax. Ouch. What other changes had to be made now that the Scamp sits so much higher? This is an excellent question because there are quite a few. First and foremost, I had to change my tow ball height. So I actually have my old setup here so we can compare the two. And I used to need a 2-inch drop from my shank height, but I've switched to a 2-inch rise. So I've gained 4 inches here because of my 5-inch lift. It would have been really dangerous to continue to use this old toe ball height. My trailer would have been pointing down significantly, and that would have really messed with the balance and aerodynamics of the trailer. So the trailer shop helped me find the exact height that I needed that would keep me safe at the new height that my trailer rides. Secondly, my entryway door is a much bigger step up and down. And if you've been with me for a while, you'll remember that I used to have the entryway step, but I wound up removing it because it was a low point that was catching up and causing problems when I was off-roading. So I actually had it removed, and I hope I don't live to regret that now that my trailer's so much higher. But worst case scenario, I'll just get a little folding step. Additionally, now that my trailer sits up so high, I had to wood glue and nail together some of these pressure treated pieces of scrap wood to create this platform so I didn't have to fully extend my tongue jack. With it all the way extended, a lot of the vibrations when I'm going in and out of the trailer to pack and unpack, it just gets transferred to the tongue jack, and I just didn't want to put that kind of strain on it. So now I block it up pretty high. I'm going to carry these blocks with me when I travel too, so I can do the same thing. Because little known fact, the less you extend your tongue jack and your stabilizer jacks, the more stable your trailer is actually going to be. So let's go look at the stabilizers while we're talking about it. Surprisingly, they can actually make it down that far, but this isn't going to create a lot of stability. So let me show you what I'm going to do instead. Carrying blocks like these or additional leveling blocks really limits the amount I have to extend my stabilizing jack, which translates into a more stable trailer. So from now on, I'll be carrying some extra blocks with me. Something else that's changing because my trailer does sit up so high, and I'm concerned that if it wiggles too much, it could tip or the tongue jack could slip off of these blocks. I'm actually going to switch to some more heavy-duty wheel chocks. These little ones were completely sufficient when my trailer was much lower and there wasn't anything for the tongue jack to fall off of. But now that my tongue jack is sitting up on something so high, I don't want any chance of there being any accidents when I'm in there moving around and shaking it. So these are some old wheel chocks that I had from my much bigger RV back in the day, and they're just a lot beefier. And they're rubberized, so when I kick them directly under the wheel here, they grip right into that space, and they provide just a little bit more stability and peace of mind. And something else that will undoubtedly change is gas mileage. Now that my trailer's sitting so much higher, it's lost some aerodynamics, so I haven't clocked it yet, but I'm bound to get worse gas mileage, and I'll get back to you on that one because I haven't had a chance to test it yet. Are you worried about the stiffness of the new axle harming the trailer? So a lot of people in the comments are probably going to say that I should have had my axle derated or softened by the manufacturer when I had it fabricated to avoid the stiffness of the ride for such a light-duty trailer. But I talked that one over with the trailer pros extensively, and they said they haven't found that to be necessary in their experience. So the internet says one thing, the professionals say another, so I decided to trust them and their vast experience. Will I live to regret it? Who knows? Time will tell. Would I recommend these modifications to other scampers? I would say if you off-road as much as I do, then it's definitely worth looking into. But if you predominantly stay on paved roads, then this is definitely overkill, and I wouldn't recommend it. I know this video was a lot of blabbing, but I hope that answers all of your questions. If you have any I didn't get to, please drop them in the comments. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you could use YouTube's new hype feature, that helps push my tiny little channel out to a bigger audience. So if you want to help me find new subscribers and a bigger audience, using the hype button from a mobile device really helps me grow my audience and helps the channel grow. And as always, happy scamping. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.